Florence is devastated by the plague, and amid misery and disease outbreaks, Pompanea's father dies. A young boy, Lorenzo, who cherishes her beauty, escapes the city as Gerbino's goons are thirsty for his blood. It's a story about comic and lusty exchanges. Tindaro works as a young artist in the city of Florence, but he shares that he still needs to start earning his living as an artist. Initially, as his father advised, he became a thief like him. But for the fear of imprisonment, he chose the profession of a painter who painted the angels on the church walls. He was happy with everything until the plague outbreak destroyed the whole city. On the other hand, Gerbino's goons follow Lorenzo through the city. He escapes their sight by jumping up from the narrow street, but they find him again just as he turns around and runs away in the other direction. He saves his life by jumping up a high wall where a few men follow him. Gerbino warns him to step down, but Lorenzo uses his sword and throws two men down the wall in dirty water. Afraid of heights, Gerbino leaves Lorenzo to catch him another time. The dawn breaks and Lorenzo leaves flowers at Pompanea's house as part of his daily routine. Once a lot of boys desired her, but after the plague outbreak, it seems that only Lorenzo is still leaving flowers on her doorstep as a token of his love. Just as he comes on the road, he finds his friends waiting for him with a horse. They help him flee the city as Gerbino's men are coming to kill him. Lorenzo rides the horse and leaves. At the same time, Tindaro finishes his painting and goes to his father, who seems dead from the plague. Assuming he will not wake up, Tindaro wears his gown to look like father. Gerbino reaches the mourning Pompanea in the church whose father just died of plague. She shares that a count from Russia is about to come to get married to her, as her late father has given her hand in marriage to him. But Gerbino reveals a terrible truth that her father was in debt with multiple business people in the city. Hence, a few months ago, he paid all her father's debt, and in return, her father gave all his property to him and promised to marry him to his daughter Pompanea. He kisses Pompanea's hand by kneeling. At the same time, a few Gerbino's men follow Lorenzo out of the city. Lorenzo finds a half-wit man carrying a corpse on a cart and asks him where this road leads. He shares that this road leads to the convent of pretty and hot nuns, but if he wants to get a job there, he must have a skill like gardening. Soon he hears Gerbino's men reach nearer and run away on his horse. After some distance, he saves himself by hiding from their sight as he jumps up a high tree. Those men pass beside the tree, but Lorenzo soon falls as he sits on a weak branch. He gets unconscious, and a few nuns take him to the convent. They admire his beauty and make the fake excuse to check his body by uncovering his shirt. Just as a nun puts her lips on his lips, he opens his eyes, and at the exact moment, Mother arrives and asks him if he can speak. Lorenzo remembers what the dumb man with the cart said. He must pretend to be deaf and dumb to live in a convent. Hence, he shows the nuns that he can't speak or hear. Nuns perceive his arrival as a gift from heaven and ask him to bathe. Two pretty nuns bath him. On the other hand, Pompanea calls her close friends in the church and tells them that they are heading to the house in the country. It's a villa where they will live, and marriage will also occur there. Her friend Melissa doesn't understand why Pompanea is marrying a Russian count when she always loved Lorenzo and wants her to at least live with the count before marriage to decide. But Randy scolds her for thinking of establishing a carnal relationship, as she is very proud of their virginity and will only break it in their marriage. At the same time, Gerbino arrives at the church and recognizes Dioneo and his friend as Lorenzo's friends. He wants his men to kill them, but at the same time, Tindaro, wearing a father's gown, orders him to get out of the church as he can't allow any bloodshed there. Thus, he saves their lives, and Tindaro accompanies them to the villa the next morning. But Pompanea is informed that Lorenzo is hiding in the convent. Hence, she goes to stay there and wears their dress to blend in with them. She discovers that Lorenzo has been pretending to be deaf and dumb there, while he is living as a gardener. Anytime a nun wants him, they fulfill their desire with him. That day, Count Dmitri reaches Florence at Pompanea's home and thinks Gerbino is her father. He is surprised to know that this man, who is her father's age, wants her hand in marriage. Count Dmitri stands tall in front of Gerbino's death threats and immediately starts his journey to find Pompanea. On his way out, a messenger hands him a letter that Pompanea left for him, telling him to follow her in the villa. On the other hand, Lorenzo sits alone in his room while two nuns wanting intimacy enter his room with food. At the same time, Randy complains about her virginity on their journey, which annoys Father Tindaro so much. Her boyfriend Dioneo, following her, is craving her intimacy. He looks back where two farmer girls ask him and his friend to visit their farm, where they will get fresh milk and bread. They think for a moment and then follow the girls before losing sight. As the city boys, they did not know how to milking the cows. Hence, both girls lie down with them under the cow to teach them about milking the cow. On the other hand, Randy walks to search for Dioneo and gets very angry when he sees him lying under the cow with that girl. The nuns enjoy their time with Lorenzo, and Pampanea does not like him being with them. She throws a bucket of water on his body when he is showering. He spends that night with Mother Nun. On the other hand, Gerbino reaches Count Dimitri and his men in the countryside and kills everyone while Count Dimitri escapes them somehow. He saves his life by shooting a bullet at one of the men in Gerbino's gang. That weapon was new to him, and Gerbino wanted it at all costs. On the other hand, Randy and his friends stop to spend the night while Father Tindaro, sick of hearing Randy's pride talk about virginity, tells her to stop freaking Dioneo. No one loses anything if they are not virgins. That night, she gets so angry when Dioneo calls the country girls loudly in his dream and throws a bucket of water on his face in anger. Pampanea keeps looking at Lorenzo secretly, and she enters his room when he is alone with veil on her face. She blindfolds his eyes and confesses that she dreams of him every day. She gives him a gentle kiss and leaves the room. The kiss mesmerizes Lorenzo, but there is no one now, and she leaves one flower for him behind. Dioneo is very angry at Randy for accusing him of cheating, but he is not pleased with her kiss. He wants intimacy before marriage, while suddenly the thieves surround them in the jungle. They take them to their camps where Melissa is tied with ropes. She advises Randy to lure the thief's leader by entering his room. Melissa goes first and dances to seduce him, but he is too intelligent as he only wants her to dance. The next is Randy's turn, and Melissa advises her to follow her lead as they somehow have to escape the thieves today. Melissa and Randy get on the stage while all the men are ready for the show. They want all men to show their bodies, and while they are so intoxicated by their fancy talks, Melissa steals the key to Dioneo in his friend's handcuffs. At the same time, all the men fight to show their masculinity. They unlock the boy's hands using keys, and Uncle hits the thief's leader before he attacks him. He falls unconscious, and all of them escape. The next day, Pampanea receives the news that Count Dimitri has arrived, so she has to leave the convent and go to the villa. Before leaving the convent, she doesn't want Lorenzo to be with nuns. Hence, the night before leaving, she tells the mother nun that she has watched Lorenzo singing in the garden. Therefore, he is not deaf. Mother Nun wakes him up, threatening him to chop his body part. That terrifies Lorenzo, and he speaks to plead with her to spare him. That breaks his secret, and Nun throws him out of the convent. On the other hand, Count stops at a waterfall to drink some water when he sees Melissa bathing in it. Initially, he thinks she is an enchantress, but when she shares that she is going to the wedding of Pampanea, Count mistakes her words and feels she is the Pampanea when Melissa offers him to be his groom upon his introduction. Her lustful beauty lures him. Lorenzo watches Pampanea's horse cart passing beside him and tells her that the convent has thrown him out. He discovers that Pampanea is on her way to the villa to marry a Russian count and runs towards her cart to be her escort. On their way, they see Father Tindaro heading towards the convent. He introduces himself and they take him in, knowing he knows about gardening. Mother Nun baths him like they gave a bath to Lorenzo. Finally, Pampanea reaches the villa and discovers her friends have yet to arrive. Hence, watching Lorenzo leave, she requests him to stay with her a little longer. At the dinner table, Lorenzo tells her about his stay in the convent when he had the exceptional experience of just kissing a girl, but that girl blindfolded him. Thus, he does not know who she is but is in love with her and determined to find her. Not knowing she was Pampanea, he tells her he will wait forever for that girl. Pampanea wants to reveal her love for him and asks him to close his eyes and see if her kiss can make him fall in love with her. But just as they are about to kiss, Gerbino reaches there with his men. Pampanea wants Lorenzo to run but gets angry that Gerbino wants to make Pampanea his bride. He gets in a fight with Gerbino and his men, but Pampanea saves his life by agreeing to marry Gerbino. Gerbino put Lorenzo in the darkroom. He fears heights and gets too scared to see Pampanea walking across a very deep well. He repeatedly requests her to come down. Pampanea agrees that he will release Lorenzo as soon as they get married. In a hurry to marry Pampanea, Gerbino sends his men to find a priest. At the same time, Tindaro entered the villa in the priest's gown. Hence, before the ceremony, Gerbino releases Lorenzo and sends 2 men to leave Lorenzo away from the villa. As a part of the ritual, Tindaro asks them to make confessions before marriage. Hence, in her confessions, Pampanea tells Father Tindaro that she has 3 potential husbands: Gerbino, Count Dimitri, and Lorenzo. She loves Lorenzo and bribes him to delay the marriage ceremony as long as possible. Tindaro agrees, and with tears in her eyes, she looks at Lorenzo leaving the villa with Gerbino's men. On Gerbino's confession, he could not count the number of men he killed his entire life. Hence, to delay the marriage ceremony, Tindaro tells him to abstain from nasty thoughts for a month. That would absolve him of his sins, but that idea is absurd to Gerbino. On the other hand, the 2 men surrounding Lorenzo lie that they want to spare his life, while Gerbino intends to kill him. But he punches and knocks them out before the attack. At the same time, Dimitri passes by on his horse, asking about the Pampanea's villa. After knowing that he is the fat Russian count wants to marry Pampanea, Lorenzo tells him the address and begins running before Gerbino marries Pampanea. Pampanea and Gerbino dress up as bride, groom, and bride and stand before Tindaro. To delay the ceremony, he asks Gerbino to answer a few questions and interrogate whether he bathed before the ceremony, as it's essential to absolve the soul by confession and the body by bathing before marriage. Pampanea proudly says she bathed, but noticing the dirt in Gerbino's nails, he orders him to at least wash his dirty hands before carrying out the ceremony. That angers Gerbino a lot, and now as Tindaro asks him about additional charges for the ceremony, he pours wine very slowly. Watching Count Dimitri arrive on his horse in the villa, Gerbino puts a sword on Tindaro's face to complete the ceremony quickly. Without further delay, he pronounces them husband and wife. Count introduces himself and Lorenzo reaches there too. A fight begins between Gerbino's men and Count Dimitri, while Tindaro silently escapes the combat. Lorenzo and Count Dimitri kill and injure Gerbino's men and reach the well where Gerbino waits for them to be killed. But Count Dimitri puts the sword in his neck and is about to end Gerbino's life when Lorenzo asks his permission to kill Gerbino. Count Dimitri agrees, but wants to step in the fight whenever he notices Lorenzo is getting weak. Lorenzo urges Gerbino to fight him on the edge of the well. Afraid of falling in, Gerbino could only fight for a few moments. Now, if he gets ahead, Lorenzo will kill him, and Dimitri will pierce his body with a sword as he is standing beside him. But suddenly, Gerbino loses his balance, falls into the well, and dies. Pampanea, watching him die with Father Tindaro, gets sad that now she is a widow. But Tindaro reveals that he is not a priest, so she is not married. Pampanea appears in front of Count Dimitri in a veil, and he thinks she is the same girl he met beside the waterfall. But when she reveals her face, he knows that's not her, and his lover is Melissa, standing behind her. Pampanea wants to stop Lorenzo as he is on his way out to search for his lover, who gave him the most precious kiss. She stops him and asks him to close his eyes as her kiss might make him forget his lover. Knowing that he will never forget his love, Lorenzo closes his eyes and Pampanea kisses him, uttering the exact words she did when kissing him for the first time. Lorenzo is so happy to finally have found his love. Their friends clap on their reunion and the movie ends here.